day, my students. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this series of lessons organized by University Press PLC, the foremost publisher. The lessons are organized to empower you to cope with the forthcoming examination organized by WAEC and NECO at SSC level. Not only that, post-UTME examinations, NAPTEP, and so on. My name is Akabi S.O., seasoned examiner for just 38 years, and author and part of member reviewed Man Mathematics. I'm also MAN member, that is Mathematical Association of Nigeria members, and I've been there for years. Thank you. We are going to examine mathematics. Now, mathematics is a subject students normally dread or probably think that it is very difficult. No, the series of textbooks we want to use make sure that it removes all the difficulties you might think that you are going to encounter. Some textbooks present some of the materials in abstract form, but that is why I will show you the textbook I have been using for more than 30 years, the MAN Maths, prepared by we members of Mathematical Association of Nigeria, MAN. It has 6 series for GSS 1, SS2 and SS3. Now the textbook is so designed such that you can undo it and need just little effort from your teachers. The diagrams are well designed, diagram drawn properly, examples given and worked. So my boys and girls, let's look at what mathematics is. I can tell you the series of books is what we can call mathematics made easy. Mathematics made easy. But before we go to what mathematics is, I want to introduce you to the examination called mathematics, examination on mathematics. At SSC level, you are expected to answer or attempt 2 papers. The first paper is multiple test, while the second one is theory. For the multiple tests, you are expected to answer all the questions. That means you are to cover all the syllabus. You don't need to dodge any of the aspect of the syllabus. That is why if you check the textbook as shown to you earlier, it covers from arithmetic process to statistics and probability. Hence, there is no area wherever they pick the question you'll be able to answer them. Now the first, I said we have 2 papers. The first one is paper 1. That is multiple choice. They call it multiple choice. You are to answer all the questions, but the method you're supposed to use in answering multiple choice or multiple test questions, they are so different from the one you are going to apply when you are answering theory papers, because nobody intends to see how you get your answer. You have to pick the correct option from the alternatives. Now the second one is paper 2. This one is theory paper. For the first one, for the multiple choice, you are to use not more than a minute and a half on a question. If you are working a particular question and you discover that you are still on 5 minutes on a particular question, that means you are wasting your time or you are not using proper method. Now for the second paper 2, this is theory. This one is divided into two sections. The first one is section A. Section A, we have 5 questions. 5 questions. Then section B, 7 or 8, depending on the council. 7 questions. Now, for the 5 questions you have to answer, attempt all. For the other one, you have to pick 5. Please take note. Section A is structured such that for the first page 1 is for question 1, page 2 for question 2, and the spaces are there. But do not attempt to answer question 3 on page 1 as usual. Because on page 1 it may be solve for x if x plus 3 equals 4, while on page 3 is simplify. 1/2 minus 1/3. If you are doing this on page 1, you are answering another question. Whatever you do will be 0, because they will assume that you are just answering the question you love. Now, I don't want to talk more on that, but for section B, there are a lot of things, because when you are answering a question, you have to be very careful. You have to pick 5 questions from section B. You are free to start from anywhere. You can start from number 12, you can start from number 7, but please, for God's sake, do not answer a question more than once. If you answer a question more than once, you ask 3 times, cancel neatly the one you don't want. The reason is this: if you answer question 7, page 9, question 7, page 9, question 7, and you score 8. Page 10, you go there again, question 7, you go score 9. Now, you go to another page, page 13, the same question 7, you score 2. And you leave all the 3. Then the examiner will mark the first one, the second one, and the third one, and they pick this one for you. But that is 1. 2, if you cancel this neatly, you cancel this, they will still record this. But if you are very, very clever, you leave this one, because you will know where you scored the highest. You cancel this, they will record this one for you. That is why you have to be very careful when you are picking the one you want to choose after answering a question more than once or twice. But please do not, it is not advisable. Then another thing, please do not answer a question on page 1, another question on page 2, another question on page 3, and you model them up. It is very, very dangerous, because the examiner will not know which one to pick. Now, let me go directly to how to assess you. This is the most important aspect of the examinations. The examiners are not looking for your answers. They are looking for how you arrive at your answers. That is why there are 3 types of marks normally awarded in exams. 3 types of marks. 3 types of marks. The first mark, we call it M mark. M mark. and it's the same thing as method mark. Method. If you are asked to simplify, I want to give you example. Simplify 1 over 2 plus 1 over 3 all over 1 over 2 minus 1 over 3. They ask you to simplify. Simplify means make it simpler. But if you decide, because you are given calculator, you change this one to decimal, you change this one to decimal, you change this one to decimal, and this one to decimal, you are not using correct method. That means the examiner will award you M0, meaning you are using wrong method. Now, that is one. Another example of using method is this. Find the volume. They ask you to find the volume. You are given V is pi r square h, and you are given pi as 22 over 7. You are given r as 7, and you are given h as 2, and you come here, you say 3.142 multiplied by 7 raised to power 2 times 2. The formula is already given. Your own assignment is to substitute, but you decide to substitute wrongly. You are using wrong method. Mind you, it is possible for you to get correct answer, but because you miss the method, since your method is 0, no matter how brilliant you are, no matter how accurate your answer is, your accuracy marks is going to be 0. Your accuracy marks is going to be 0. I don't want to waste your time on that. The other mark is what we call the bonus mark. B mark. Bonus mark. B. Bonus mark. Bonus. Not that they dash mark. Not that they just dash you. No. This bonus mark now comprise both the method and accuracy mark. Example, if you are to plot graph that is locating your the point on x-axis, your point on y-axis correctly, you will be awarded the bonus mark. Not only that, if you are to find the difference in longitude, you know, either you are going to subtract or add, but you get the answer, they will award you the bonus mark. Nobody is interested how you get it, but we know you are going to use a particular method to get it, whether you show it or this, we call it bonus mark. Then the other, I will give you an example of that later. Then the last one is accuracy mark. Accuracy. Accuracy mark. Now, if your method is wrong, if you are so fortunate to get the bonus, your accuracy marks must be 0. I will give you an example. Look at the example of this simple linear equation. Simple linear equation. Solve for x. Solve for x. If x over 3 minus x plus 1 over 4 is equal to minus 1. This is an equation involving fraction. The first thing expected from you is to clear the fraction correctly. If that fraction is not correctly cleared, you will miss the method mark. For example, you just decide to say that, okay, this one is 3x, minus 4 into x plus 1 is equal to 1. You are clear. It's true that you are clearing the fraction, but you are clearing it wrongly. You will miss the method mark, and this one is wrong. The bonus mark is also lost. It is possible to giraffe check your friend's work and you get the correct answer. Let's say the correct answer is 2. Then since this one is 0, they will give you 0 for bonus mark. Your accuracy will also be what? 0. Will also be 0. That is why correct method must be used, the bonus inserted, and the accuracy taken. It is possible for you to score 10 over 12 without getting the correct answer. It is possible. Now, in mathematics, you have what we call the circle geometry, plane geometry, coordinate geometry. In all calculations, in all questions involving diagram must be drawn, correctly labeled. Take note: no diagram, no mark. No diagram, no mark. Especially on elevation and depression, bearing, Venn diagram. If you are to find the bearing and the angles, you don't show how you get the diagram. You are just say using cosine formula, using sine formula, and you get the correct answer. It is m0 a0 0 over 12. Please take no diagram, no mark. And if you are to use Venn diagram to solve a particular problem, especially on site, the Venn diagram is not there, you use the formula and you get your answer, m0 a0. I was talking of the relationship between the method bonus and accuracy mark, and I don't want you to be in the dark. As I earlier said, you are all used to solving quadratic equations either by using formula, by using completing the square method, by graphical method. You have to consider what the question is saying. If a particular question is asking you specifically a particular way of answering the question, do not deviate. If you check our textbook, the textbook I showed you the other time, you see a question there on page 200, you see a question there under trigonometry, where the question says given. Look at the word given. Tan 30 equals 1 over root 3. Sin 30 equals half, and cos 60 equals root 3. The question says evaluate. Tan 30 minus sin 30 all over cos 60. The ratios are given, but because you have calculator, we discovered that majority of the candidates, they substitute for tan 30 using their tables. Is 0.577. Sin 30 they say 0.5. They say cos 60 is equal to 1 over 2, and they use calculator to get the answer. We discovered that they are using their own method. They are supposed to use the value. They are to use their own cos 60. Cos 60 is half. Cos 60 is half. You are going to substitute using the given values, and you will discover that they want to test two things: your knowledge of ratio of angles. Probably you are very fortunate, especially in this test, all these values are there. You need to commit them into your memory because you need to use them, especially UTME exam. The second thing, they want you to know how to rationalize, because by the time you want to simplify, you have to rationalize. Do not substitute directly from your 4-figure table. Use the values given, especially trigonometrical functions or trig ratios. Then another thing, there is difference between simplify, evaluate, and solve. A question like this is given: 2x plus 3y is equal to 5. This is also an equation. The two are equations, but 7x plus 3y written like this, it's not an equation but an expression. This is not an equation, but this and this, they are equations, those simultaneous equations. You should note the difference between equation and expression. If you are to simplify, that's the difference from solve. We discovered that at times an expression is given and some of you try to solve. You can't solve an expression because it is not an equation. Now, there are topics in maths that are just added, like calculus, matrices and determinants, binary operations, coordinate geometry, especially on equation of a line and so on, even simple logic. I'm advising you to consult our mathematics for SS2, SS1 for introductory aspect of those topics, so that by the time we are revising it, probably by the 8th or 7th lectures, you will flow along with us. Let's look at what I normally call the beginning of mathematics, revision of mathematics for SS3. For SS3, we suppose to start revising what we refer to as arithmetic process. Some call it commercial mathematics. And what we need there is not just to memorize or just to use our traditional form of learning. That is why our textbook is there. What I'm saying is this: we have what we call decimal places, significant figures. It is interesting to note that even at SSC level, at SS3 level, the student confused the two together. For example, 7.0691, and this one to 2 decimal places is different from writing it to 2 significant figures. They are not the same. We discovered that candidates lose marks through this thing, because if your answer is not as accurate as what they expect you to do, or you refuse to take it to the correct number of significant figure or decimal places, you lose one mark. For example, this 1 to 2 decimal places, this is 7 point, this is 1 2, the next one is 1 2, but the next number is more than 5 or 5, then you add 1 to this, that is 07, that is 2 decimal places. Now to two significant, that is where I'm going. For the fact that 0 is a number that you just say you don't need it because it is not significant, does not mean that you cancel it or you ignore it. For example, to two figures 1 2, that's where we are going. 1 2, but the second number is 0, then the next to it is 6, so you add 1, so that one is 7.1. Two significant figure. Two, they are not the same. We should not misconstrue decimal places to significant figures. Then another interesting one is this: 1275 to two figures. This is 1275. The word approximate to significant figure does not mean you destroy the number. So to two figures here, this is 1 2, the next one is 7, so you add 1 to this to be 1 3, the rest will be 0 0. It is common to see students write this one as 13 because they say two figures. 13 can never be approximated or can never be an approximate value of 1275. Please take it, is very common. Please take note. I don't want to waste your time because we have numerous examples and exercises on our textbook. Then another thing is standard notation or scientific notation. I only, because we are doing revision questions for our potential university undergraduate, so I don't want to take you to, but I'm referring you to go and see the previous topics here. We designate some pages for the one you are taught years 1, years 2, so go and check about 40 pages. Now, standard notation. Standard notation. I don't want to take you through the one you are allowed, but I'm referring you to the first 40 pages of our textbook for SS2 and this one. The one I show you the other time, you will really enjoy it. Standard notation, but I want to give you an example of what we expect from you when a question is given. Let me give you the standard notation. Look at this question. Evaluate 0.2 all cube multiplied by 0.03 all squared, everything divided by 0.00072. And the question says evaluate. Leave your answer in standard form. You are not supposed to use your calculator here. You are not supposed to use your slide rule here. You are supposed to use the correct method. The first thing you are expected to do is check this. What is the meaning of 0.2 raised to power 3? It is 0.2 multiplied by 0.2 multiplied by 0.2. Then is 0.03 squared times 0.03 multiplied by 0.03. Everything divided by 0.00072. This type of question normally attracts 4 marks. If you use your calculator, you get your answer the second line. That way you get M0, B0, D0, A0. Now, the next thing, remove the decimal point. This is 2 by 2 by 2 by 3 by 3. Count the decimal point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Multiply by 10 raised to power minus 7. Then this one divided by, you eliminate the decimal, not that you just eliminate. We don't want to see decimal point, bring it here. that one will be 72 multiplied by 1 2 3 4 5, 10 raised to power minus 5. Now if you look at that, you will discover that mathematicians try to make things easier for you. You don't need any calculator here. 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 is that 72. They cancel this one straight away. So you now left with 10 raised to power minus 7, everything divided by 10 raised to power minus 5. From your previous knowledge, if you check our SS2 textbook on the indices, this one goes up. It's 10 raised to power minus 7 multiplied by 10 raised to power 5. You know there's no number. You say 1 times 1.0 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 7 multiplied by 10 raised to power 5. You had the index. So it will be 1.0 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 2. You see that you don't need calculator, you don't need slide rule. Then another question I want to give you. Look at this. It's very common and you are so lucky. I've gone through this. We have about 17 of them. 17. Let me give you one of them. The question says, evaluate, leaving your answer in standard form, the square root of 1.44 multiplied by 10 raised to power 6, everything divided by 3.6 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 3. 10 raised to power minus 3. This question, you quote me anyway, is 4 marks. If you use your calculator directly, you get the answer the second line. That means you get 0. No doubt about it. That is why you see the steps taken here. In fact, about 5 lines to solve this type of problem. Somebody was asking me why. Because the steps must be there. Let's check. 1.44 multiplied by 10 raised to power 6. The first step, remove the decimal point. Remove the decimal point. That means this one becomes the square root of 144 multiplied by 10 raised to power 6 multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 2, because you've shifted the decimal point 2 steps forward. Therefore, the index must be, that means you are multiplied by 10 raised to power minus 2. This one all over 3.6 times 10 raised to power minus 3 times 10 raised to power minus 1. 36. Now, this is the same thing as, this is 144, 36. The square root of 144 is 12. The square root of 36 is 6. Everything multiplied by the square root of 10 raised to power, this plus this is 4. This plus this is minus 4. It's coincidence. It's not normally like that. This is 2 multiplied by the square root of, this one goes up and becomes 10 raised to power 4. So this is 10 raised to power 8. The square root of 10 raised to power 8 is, this is 2 times 10 raised to power 4. But you write this as 2.0 times 10 raised to power 4. Please take note. The square root of 10 raised to power 10 is 10 raised to power 5. The square root of 10 raised to power 6 is 10 raised to power 3. The square root of 10 raised to power 16 is 10 raised to power 8. It is not equal. You don't find the square root of the index, please. You don't find the square root of the index. Check this. 2.0 times 10 raised to power 4 is in standard form. Standard form. So my good students, all these are just the introduction as permitted by our foremost publisher, because they want us not only to prepare adequately for the forthcoming examinations, but to go back to all the textbooks, all the series from GSS. If I were you, I will not only stop at SS3, I will check for SS1, SS2, SS3 at your relaxed mood. Go through them. I'm very sure you will enjoy. See you again.